Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be showcasing probably my favourite budget deck to play in the TCG right now. So I've kind of taken a break from Hisuian Samurott, and definitely taking a break from Dondozo. RIP Dondozo, but that thing is more of a Dondudzo because it is clunky as anything. However, what is not a clunky deck, and a deck that really has taken me by surprise, is Dodrio Steelix. So Steelix is a Pokemon that is pretty tanky, 108 HP on a stage 1 single prize Pokemon, quite tanky. But for a single Meta Energy, Earthquake does 130, which is okay actually, it's decent, it sets up 2 KOs on a lot of Pokemon. But the main effect is that it does 30 damage to each of your bench Pokemon. Now that sounds horrendous, and in truth be told, it should be. But it's a fantastic partner for Dodrio from the set 151. So Dodrio has 100 HP, so yeah, not as tanky, but does have the amazing ability Zooming Draw, which first off allows you to place a damage counter on Dodrio, as well as draw a card, which is fantastic, but you will have to be careful that you don't, KO Dodrio with your own Zooming Draws or Steelix. And then you have the attack Ballistic Beak, which starts off doing 10 damage for a colorless, and then 30 more for each damage counter on Dodrio. So with 9 damage counters on Dodrio, you do 280 damage. And it's actually really easy for some reason for this deck to actually get to 280. Because not only do you have multiple of these in play, which act as your draw engine, so you're drawing between 2 to 4 cards every single turn with this deck, Dodrio is also hitting massive damage, KOing multiple basic EX Pokemon as well as V-Stars. So also worth mentioning is Steelix can actually want to KO Chien-Pao because you're hitting Metal Weakness, which is nice. I just thought that was also worth mentioning. But basically what you want to do in a game with Dodrio Steelix is just swing with Steelix on the second turn of the game, do 130, then 30 spread to each of your Dodrio, and then after that, you can just start using Zooming Draws and just go from there, really. You can use Steelix more than once. I've definitely used Steelix at least twice in most of the games that I've played with this deck. However, you can just focus on Zooming Draw most of the late game, and you will have to be careful, that you don't accidentally KO your own Dodrio. And I don't play any tool cards that modify HP, which you could if you wanted to, but I personally don't like to play those cards. Not the the new Heroes Cape thing that increases HP by plus 100 but turns you into a multi-price Pokemon. I personally don't like that card because, again, it's just turning me into EX cards, and we're already reducing our HP, so yeah, feels a bit risky, but still a very cool attacker and just very easy to play as well. It's pretty simple. Get Onix in play, evolve to Steelix, swing with Steelix, and then start swinging with your Dodrios. As for the trainers, it's a pretty simple lineup. It's a very similar trainer selection to most of my recent decks, to be fair. One thing I will say is that Defiance Band is super useful. We are playing Arven in this deck as well to find it, which makes it a bit easier. And it's just going to allow us to essentially cheat a point of damage. So what I mean by that is once Steelix gets KO'd probably on your opponent's second turn, what you can then do is attach Defiant Band to Dodrio. And even if you're, 1 or 2 points of damage behind being able to KO something, you will be able to do it with a Defiance Band. So that's quite nice. Also, you probably just won't be taking KOs full stop in the first 2 to 3 turns, unless, Steelix KOs either like a Chien-Pao or, an evolving basic Pokemon that would evolve into an EX. So yeah, that's a nice aspect. We've also got Battle VIP Pass, which unfortunately is slightly nerfed by rotation because Buddy Poffin won't find Onix because Onix is a beefy lad at 120 HP. So that's a bit unfortunate. It will mean that you have to rely on just Nestball to find Onix, and therefore Buddy Poffin will essentially just be there for Doduo. So you could start like messing around with card counts, and I do already play Capturing Aroma in this deck, so you could probably go up to like a 4th copy of that, and yeah, just like 2 Buddy Poffin is probably what I would do post-rotation, but yeah, that's VIP Pass. Again, VIP Pass is a bit expensive as a newer player, then I would just say like 3 copies of Great Ball, to be honest. Like 3 copies of Great Ball, or even like a 4th copy of Capturing Aroma, and then 2 copies of something else. And truth be told, like rotation is so soon anyway. If I was a new player, I wouldn't even bother buying VIP Pass unless I was competing in events. So, that's just my 2 cents on it though. But yeah, this is the trainer selection. Two Super Rod, which, to be honest, I don't actually use Super Rod that much in games because I have enough energy, like always have enough energy with this deck. you're only attacking for 1 energy, so energy is not like a super big issue. Recycling Pokemon can be can be necessary, especially if you prized 1 or 2 Dodrios or something. But typically, aside from that, I would say you could actually cut a Super Rod in favor of like an Hisuian Heavy Ball maybe. But the thing is with Super Rod, I feel like if you go down to 1 copy, then it's just a one-off in a 60 card deck. It's more difficult to find, and if you really need to find it at a certain point in the game, then that could be quite annoying. So, I do think Super Rod is necessary as a 2-of, but, still. 3 copies of Iono, I know Iono isn't like the cheapest supporter around, but certainly one of the better ones, and definitely worth playing. Pal Pad, super underrated card. I keep saying this in my videos, but for goodness sake, if you're going to try any one-of in a deck, try Pal Pad. Right, this has won me so many games because it means you can be more flexible with how you play boss's orders in the deck. So I only play 2 copies, don't play any counter capture or anything. So what this means is that even if you have to discard boss with either research or Ultra Ball, you can just Pal Pad for boss's orders late game. And it also means when you get to like a 13 card size deck, because yes, this deck can last out until late games, what you can do is then Pal Pad back boss's orders, and thus you have a more likely chance of finding it, especially when you have like 3 or 4 Dodrio in play, so you can just start cycling through cards. Another thing I would say with this deck is you're not actually playing any stadiums, so you could actually add Artisan post-rotation as well to find basics, or even Pokestop to potentially mill out some useless items, but either way, that's about it. Then we have Damage Pump, which, from what I remember, and I will have to double check this, I think this card rotates. I think this was Lost Origin. Someone will have to clarify that in the comments. I will look it up after I'm done with this video. But yeah, Damage Pump, I think, might be a Lost Origin card. If it is, that's unfortunate because it does mean it rotates. If it was a Astral Radiance card, then that's fantastic. But I have a very sneaking suspicion this card came around in Lost Origin, which is unfortunate because it is a very useful card. It will essentially allow you to cheat out damage. So this is just great for basically just catching your opponent off guard. If they think that they will not, if they think you won't be able to get a KO basically because you don't have enough damage on a Dodrio, maybe you're 2 damage counters short, Damage Pump will allow you to move damage from the bench to the active. So that's quite nice. However, because that is a fairly situational scenario, I would say even if this card did rotate, it wouldn't be like a major loss to the deck or anything. It's not going to hurt the deck in any stretch of imagination. It can be useful, but typically most of the time you'll be fine with just Dodrio and Steelix. So yeah, that's kind of it for the trainers. Nothing else too crazy. You can mess around with these card counts as you see fit, really, and to suit budget and rotation, of course. But these are just what I'm going for. Earthen Vessel, again, is just kind of here to find energy. Typically, we won't actually need to find more than 1 energy, but sometimes it's useful to just thin the deck out a bit. So, that's the Earthen Vessel. As for energy counts, I'm playing 8 metal, 2 jet energy. I have thought about experimenting a bit with luminous energy and stuff like Radiant Charizard, but I wanted to steer away from Radiance for this video because I do want this to be a budget deck for budget players. So, luminous energy, maybe not luminous, but Charizard mainly and Radiant Greninja can be a bit pricey IRL, I find. So, if you just want to stay away from them, then, 8 metal, 2 jet energy. I do like to go overboard with energy sometimes, even if they're just single attachments. But this does mean that, you're not whiffing attacks, and you can't really afford to whiff an attack with a single price deck. You'll just fall behind too quickly. So yeah, 10 energy and is necessary. Also, jet energy is here so we can move Dodrio from the bench to the active if we need to. So yeah. So this has been Dodrio Steelix. Definitely caught me by surprise in how powerful this deck is. Taking down Lugia, Chimpow's, even Charizards on the ladder so far. So yeah, it's been going pretty well, and definitely happy to report this as a budget deck. And honestly, I would even consider building this IRL personally. So yeah, definitely been a very fun deck to try out, and hope you all enjoyed this deck. Definitely suggest you give this one a go. And yeah, thank you for watching.